Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Endless TBR. My name is Christian, and this is my YouTube channel where I love to talk about books. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to click on this video, where I'm going to give you guys an update as to how my reading goals are going for 2026. Back at the end of 2025, I set up 8 different reading goals for myself that I wanted to accomplish this year. And so I figured now it's officially July 1st, I'll go through and kind of look back on those goals and let you guys know how I'm doing so far. I will let you guys know for this video, I'm going to spend a lot of time looking at my little notepad here. So I apologize if I'm not making a lot of eye contact with the camera and I just spend a lot of it looking down, but I have a lot of stuff written down here to go over. So that's why I'm going to be kind of like this the entire video. So I have 8 goals that I set up for myself in 2025. Those goals were to read 80 books, to read 25 non Stephen King horror novels, to read 12 Stephen King books, and then to finish all of the Joe Hill books that I had not read so far, to read all 6 of the Robert Langdon Dan Brown books, to read all 6 of the Red Rising books, to read all of the Dune books that I have not finished so far, both the Frank Herbert and the Brian Herbert books, and then also to read Era 2 of Mistborn. And I'm doing pretty good so far. I'd give myself like a C right now when it comes to accomplishing my goals. Some of them I'm a lot closer to than others. Luckily, now as of this month, there's only one goal that I have not started at all, but it's the one I'm the least worried about because it involves reading the least amount of books. But now I've started at least 7 of the 8 of these goals, and a couple of them I'm very close to finishing, a few others not so much. But I figured we'd go down the list of these goals and I'll let you know how I'm doing in them so far. So let's get into it. So we'll start off with the big one. It is reading 80 books. This is one that I was very confident that I'd be able to accomplish. Back in 2024, I think I read like 43 books. And then in 2025, my goal was like 50 books, but I got super into reading in 2025. And I think I finished like 111 books or something like that. But I decided instead of going from like a goal of 50 to 100, I would kind of meet in the middle somewhere and go with 80 books in 2026. There are quite a few very big books that I want to read this year that I've kind of been pushing back and on, kind of like Joe Hill's King Sorrow and Shogun, which I think I'm going to try to tackle in July, or August, I should say, not July, August. So some of those bigger books, I'm still kind of pushing back just because I'm a little nervous to start them. But overall, I'm doing really, really well on this one. I'm definitely going to read 80 books. I'm probably going to shoot closer to 100 here. But according to my Fable, I've read 67 books so far. Now, there's a little caveat to that. 2 of those are like short stories that I read for school. 3 of them are novellas, and then one of them is a manga. I started reading One Piece last month, so there's One Piece on there as well. So I've realistically read 61 full length novels with 3 novellas, 2 short stories, and a manga. So the main thing that has really launched me so far this year is the amount of audiobooks that I've consumed. So I didn't start listening to audiobooks until the very end of 2025. I went back and looked and I listened to 11 audiobooks total in 2025. I think I started really getting into them around like September. So far in 2026, I've already read 25 audiobooks. So I've already more than doubled the amount of audiobooks that I listened to last year. And that's definitely helped me read a lot more in the first half of this year than I did in 2025. Because now I listen to audiobooks when I'm driving to work. I cook a lot at home. I love to cook. So I'll listen to audiobooks while I'm cooking, while I'm cleaning around the house. It's helped me pump out a lot more material than I did at the start of last year. So I think I'm going to change this to probably closer to like 100 books. I still think that that's a goal I'll easily surpass. If I read as much as I did in the second half of 2026 as I did in the first half, I'll end closer to 120. But like I said, still have some big books to knock out. So I think I'm going to shoot for like 100. But as of right now, well on my way to beating 80 books, probably sometime in August, maybe early September. The next goal that I set for myself was to read 25 non Stephen King horror novels. I decided that 2026 was going to be my year for really branching out and exploring more horror because I always tell people that that's my favorite genre, but then when I look at the amount of horror books I've read, it's pretty slim. Like it's definitely my favorite genre to read, but I didn't feel like I was very well versed in it. Most of what I'd read was fantasy and sci-fi. So I told myself I was going to try to read 25 books that were not Stephen King books, that were horror novels. I did decide to include Joe Hill in that, even though I have another goal that is to read all of Joe Hill's stuff. I am including my Joe Hill reads in that 25 because I only had to read like 5 or 6 books by him. But I wrote down all of the ones that I've read so far. So far, I've read 20 out of 25. This does include some of those short stories and novellas that I mentioned earlier. So it's probably closer to like, I think 17 horror novels that I've read, like full length ones. But I'm going to list all of them and I'm going to include the short stories as well. So the ones that I've read so far, and this is based off of Fable, if it had the horror tag in the book. Some of these I would kind of put more towards like thrillers, a little bit, but these all at least had the horror tag in Fable, so that's how I'm getting this list. So I have read The Bad Weather Friend by Dean Koontz. I've read The Child Thief by Bram, The Sorrow Stones by Felix Blackwell, The Castle of Otranto by Horace Walpole, The Sandman by E.T.A. Hoffman. That's one of those short stories, but it's a classic. The Italian by Anne Radcliffe, When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, The Vampire by John Polidori. That's the other short story in here. Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, Watchers by Dean Koontz, Strange Weather by Joe Hill, Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu. That's a novella, pretty short, like 75 pages or so. Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. Sundial by Katrina Ward. I can't talk. Sundial by Katrina Ward. Slewfoot by Brum. The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. Heart Shaped Box by Joe Hill. The Unseen by Anya Alborn, and My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. So right there's 20 total. So well on my way. I think I might actually have this one finished by the end of July. If I'm looking at pretty close. I think I'll probably August. August is when I'm going to finish this goal. I had to look up at the books that I plan on reading in July to count, but by August I should have all 25 done. So doing pretty good on that goal as well. The next goal was to read 12 Stephen King books. I figured I would just do one a month. Kind of shaky start with that one. I think I did like one in January, zero in February, two in March, zero in April, two in May. Like I've been going back and forth with it. But as of right now, I do have 6 finished. The 6 Stephen King books that I've read are The Dead Zone, Firestarter, The Mist, Dance Macabre, Roadwork, and Cujo. I am reading his books in publication order, although I've hit a bit of a snag with July because technically the next one up is the first book in the Dark Tower series, but I kind of want to read all those books together. The problem is I don't own any of them, so I think I might skip The Gunslinger. I think it's called. I think that's the first book. And I think I'm going to go on to The Running Man for July. At least that's kind of my plan. I'm going to a bookstore tomorrow. So, on the off chance I can find the full Dark Tower series there, I might buy it and then just knock each of those out. The idea of like taking a break between each of those books doesn't really appeal to me. So, it kind of depends on what I can find at the bookstore tomorrow. But there's a good chance I might go back to the Dark Tower series later. But I have 6 down, so that means 6 more to go. Now I'm going to try to be very consistent and do the one a month, and hopefully that will work out for the rest of the year. And then finally, the last 5 goals that I have to do with specific series. So I'll go down each of those and show you the books that I have read for each of these series. I have this like massive stack of books right here, so it might get like a little congested on my table. The first one we'll talk about is the Dune series. I want to finish all of the Frank Herbert and Brian Herbert books, the whole thing. Before starting this, I had read 4 Frank Herbert books. I'd read Dune, Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, and God Emperor of Dune. This year so far, when it comes to Frank Herbert, I have just read Heretics of Dune, so I still have to read Chapter House, but I should be able to finish that no problem very soon. When it comes to the Brian Herbert stuff, that's what I'm a little more worried about. So they have a lot of books. So far this year, I have read Navigators of Dune and then Dune House Atreides. So I still have to read House Harkonnen, House Carino, and then there's like the Caladan trilogy. I don't remember exactly what the titles of all those are, but I still have to read that one. And then there's Paul of Dune, and then there's the 2 like book 7 and 8 in like the continuation of the Frank Herbert. I think it's Sandworms of Dune and Hunters of Dune. And then that also includes like the short story collections. I've decided that if I can get to the short story collections, I will, but I'm not going to like kill myself trying to read all of those because already that's a ton of books. And each of these books is like 500 pages minimum. So I'm gonna just shoot for the full length novels. If I can get to the short stories, great. If I can't, I'll still consider it like completed challenge. I'll still be happy with that. So, but that is where I'm at with that challenge. I have a long ways to go. That's going to be the tough one for the year. Next up, we have Joe Hill. So far, I have read two Joe Hill books in 2026. Before 2026, I had read three of his books already. So going into 2026, I had read 20th Century Ghosts, Horns, and Nosferatu. And then in 2026 so far, I have read Strange Weather, and then I just finished Heart Shaped Box in June. I plan on reading Full Throttle in July, and then that just leaves me with The Fireman and King Sorrow for the rest of the year. So I kind of saved his two big books for last. You'll notice I have a tendency to do that. Like I said, I push the big books off and off and off. So I left his two biggest books for last, but I feel confident I'll be able to finish both of those before the year is over. So looking pretty good with the Joe Hill stuff. The next one is going to be the Red Rising series. So this is one I decided I really have to jump on, even though it's only 6 books and they're a little shorter. I didn't want to wait till like the very end of the year. So just about like a week and a half ago, I finished Red Rising. Now I have to go out and buy the other 5 books in the series. But I was so mad at myself because this book has been sitting on my shelf for well over a year. I bought this, I think, back at the beginning of 2025, and I loved this book. I thought it was so good. So I'm not very worried about finishing this series. I have a feeling just once I get my hand on the other ones, I will breeze through it very quickly because I read this book in like 2 days. I couldn't put it down. I loved it. So, not too worried about that, but I still do have 5 books to finish in this series. The next one is going to be the Robert Langdon series. So there's 6 books so far. I have finished 3 of them. Those books are Angels and Demons, and then, oops, sorry, the Da Vinci Code, and The Lost Symbol. So I kind of took a break on these books in June because I just wanted to take a little bit of a break, but I'm going to jump back into it. I do own Origin, which is book 5, but I still have to go out and buy Inferno, which is book 4, and The Secret of Secrets. So hopefully at the bookstore tomorrow, I will find a copy of at least Inferno, and then I'll probably start that back up in August. I don't really plan on reading one in July. I have a lot of other books that I want to get to, so trying to shoot for like August, September, October, I'll knock out the last 3 books in that series. But those have been really fun so far, and I've been getting through them pretty quickly. So, again, another one that I'm not too worried about. And then finally, the last challenge, making sure I said that right. Yep, the last one was to finish Mistborn Era 2. I have not started this one, but it's only 4 books. And the other day, I did go out and buy the box set. So, at least now I have the full box set here, and it's just a matter of time before I start these. I do think I'm gonna wait a couple more months. I'm thinking like September, October, November, December, kind of like finish the year out with these because I loved the first trilogy. It's one of my favorite trilogies of all time. So I think I want to save these to the end of the year and really just have a solid series that I can finish the year out strong with. But that is the only one that I've not started so far. But I'm not worried about it. Only 4 books. It shouldn't be that bad of a problem. And if they're anywhere as good as the first trilogy, then I'm going to breeze through them really quick because those books I just like speed read through because I love them so much. So that is my progress on my 2026 reading goals so far. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Hopefully, it hasn't been too boring. And let me know how you guys are doing on your goals. Let me know what goals you've set for yourself in 2026, how you're coming along with them. I'm super interested to know what you guys are reading. Thank you so much for checking this video out. My name is Christian, and stay tuned for more book related content. Peace out.